welcome back to Stray Trains. Railway sidings are very important here in Melbourne. Before entering service for the day, trains are prepped up at sidings, and then after running for the day, trains will return to the sidings. Not to mention other important reasons, such as sidings have the ability for trains to be cleaned, and of course, a lot of maintenance takes place at sidings. So it's safe to say that railway sidings are a crucial aspect here in Melbourne. In this new series, we're going to take a look at every single sidings across Melbourne's metro railways. In part 3 of the series, we're going to take a look at all the railway sidings on the Burnley Group, which is the Belgrave, Lilydale, Alamein and Glen Waverley lines. Hope you enjoy the video. We will start off at Camberwell sidings on the Ringwood Corridor, which is situated next to Camberwell Station and is where the Alamein Line junctions off from the Belgrave and Lilydale lines. These sidings are rather interesting as they are sort of split up in various ways. A siding is actually not here and is the siding where Alamein trains terminate on the up. So Camberwell sidings really consists of 4 roads. One really cool aspect about the sidings here is that there's actually a car park in between some of the roads. So you can legally park your car in between Camberwell sidings. Only extrapolis trains typically stable here, which is a theme that you'll see throughout the video. Unlike a connection to the up line when departing the sidings, typically when trains enter the sidings, they sometimes run all the way to Riversdale to change directions and then come back on the up into the sidings. Here's the basic diagram to make things a little bit simpler. In order to enter the sidings, the trains must travel to Riversdale. There are actually a set of points there, so trains can terminate at Riversdale, allowing for the drivers to switch ends and then run on the up track towards the city. However, instead of continuing towards Camberwell Station, the train can use another set of points to enter the sidings. Following the theme of sidings at junctions, the next one we're going to look at further down the line is Ringwood sidings, located on the down end of Ringwood Station, where the Belgrave Line junctions off from the Lilydale Line. Typically only extrapolis trains stable here, and this sidings is pretty hard to get good access to, so the best you can kind of do is pass it on a train. This is quite a large siding that both parallels part of the Belgrave and Lilydale lines, so as long as you're on a train beyond Ringwood, you can get a decent look into the sidings. On a weekday timetable, there are quite a few services that terminate at Ringwood Station. Chances are, after terminating, the train will run empty into the sidings. There are even some express Ringwood services that only stop at select few stations towards Ringwood before running into the sidings, which is better than just running as empty cars from Flinders Street all the way to Ringwood. Splitting off from the Lilydale line, the first sidings we'll take a look at along the Belgrave line is Bayswater. Located next to Bayswater Station, Bayswater sidings also holds the only workshops on the Burnley Group which focuses on extrapolis maintenance. Other minor works can be done on extrapolis trains at other sidings, such as at Camberwell, but in terms of major maintenance and exams, Bayswater Workshops is the primary location for this. The other major location for extrapolis maintenance actually lies on the Clifton Hill Group, which is at Epping Workshops. From the platform, you can quite easily see extrapolis train parts lying outside of the workshops, as seen in the thumbnail to this video. From the station itself, it gives quite a good look over Bayswater sidings, which allows a nice opportunity to take a look at 3 carriage movements within the yard, where trains can uncouple, couple, and enter and exit the sidings in order to move into and out of the workshops. Unlike Ringwood, Bayswater typically doesn't see terminating timetable trains, despite it being a terminating location with a sidings. Just a few stations down the line lies Upper Ferntree Gully sidings. This is one of the smaller sidings we're going to take a look at in this video, but despite that, there are stabling roads on both sides of the station. With the ability for bi-directional running at Upper Ferntree Gully, It makes it operationally rather easy for trains to get into and out of sidings. The main issue is the single track located on both sides of the station, which could limit other trains passing by. This is a good reason as to why I use typically in a lot of these videos. Typically speaking, Extrapolis trains are only stable at Upper Ferntree Gully sidings. However, in 2025, that was not the case. Extrapolis 2 trains also stabled there for a little bit during testing. Whilst there isn't too much special about these sidings, out of all sidings across the metro network, Upper Ferntree Gully has to be one of the most beautiful in terms of its nature surroundings. The mountains in the background is quite amazing to see and really makes for some good pictures and videos. Now, when we think of sidings, we think of these big areas with many tracks, lots of train stabling maybe, lots of fencing, and maybe other facilities such as maintenance facilities. However, Belgrave Sidings has none of that. It's essentially just an extra track where trains can stable next to the main line. Typically, this sidings doesn't see any trains throughout the day, and generally only at night and early in the morning will you see a train there. Now, taking a look at all the sidings we've covered throughout this series thus far and still yet to cover, the sidings along the Belgrave Line is fairly compact with the amount of sidings in terms of a ratio compared to the stations. There's a sidings at Ringwood, 2 stations later at Bayswater, 3 stations later at Upper Ferntree Gully, and then 3 more stations later at Belgrave. That's a total of 4 sidings across just 9 stations of track. Unlike the Belgrave Line, the only sidings on the Lilydale Line beyond Ringwood sidings is indeed on the down end of the terminus station, being Lilydale sidings. Being the end of a line, it is pretty easy for trains to get in and out of the yard. An example here is the Steamrail Special train was shunting into the yard from platform 1 side, whilst there was a in-service Extrapolis train to sit in idle at platform number 2. Since the recent grade separation project, this area has changed quite a fair bit in the last few years. Taking a look at our final line, which we've not forgotten, and that is the Glen Waverley line. Starting off with Burnley sidings, the closest sidings in the Burnley Group to the CBD, and also is named after the nearby Burnley Station, which is the last station on the Burnley Group that sees all 4 lines passing before the Glen Waverley line splits from the other 3 lines. Burnley sidings has 3 roads, and we visit Burnley sidings during a rather interesting time of September 2025, which sees not only the usual Extrapolis trains, but also an Extrapolis 2 test train, set 3, and a 6-car Commons train. This used to be a rather common sight here at Burnley sidings, as Commons used to run on the Glen Waverley line and the entire Burnley Group. However, for a number of years, the Burnley Group has only been run by Extrapolis trains, meaning to see a Commons at Burnley sidings in 2025 is something rather a bit unique. Here is a Glen Waverley service with the main line situated right next to Burnley sidings. We'll next take a look at a video that sees a train departing onto the main line and another train moving to the gates, preparing to depart the siding for an afternoon peak. Now, we will keep this one brief for the final sightings of the video, and that is Glen Waverley sightings. The photo you just saw before is actually the only one I've taken. The video I took there, well, it disappeared, so we'll keep this one nice and brief. Glen Waverley sidings is located on the Glen Waverley line, next to the terminus of the line, on the platform 2 side of Glen Waverley Station and has a few roads for stabling Extrapolis trains. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I think we'll leave it at that. Cheers.